Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on Global Politics Horizon. Today we have a very, very special guest. He has been involved in almost multiple decades of life across Africa, across Nigeria, and is someone that his comments, his thoughts are things that are valued around the world. Today we have here on Noire TV, we have President Olusegun Obasanjo. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Great. We appreciate you being here. Today we're going to have a few questions for you, for our viewers around the world that are obviously excited about Africa, excited about African relations, Nigerian relations as it relates to the U.S. Noire TV is in 28 million homes, and our viewers obviously want to get perspectives as the relationship between Africa, Nigeria, and the U.S. and the diaspora as a whole. So Chioma is going to start off and lead us in terms of questions.
Thank you so much again for joining us and for making time to be here. Thank you. We're just going to jump into it. As everyone is aware, there are protests going on all around Nigeria. From your perspective, what are the core grievances of the protesters?
Hardship,
Yes.
in one word. And what the protesters are saying is that their poverty, their hardship, their unemployment, their hunger is caused by bad governance. So what they are asking for is either the government to relieve them of the hardship, of the hunger, or find an alternative for them. I think that is the cause of it. And the point is that not only in Nigeria, the Nigeria's autumn is here. I think that autumn may go throughout many other countries in Africa. I was in Kenya when the one of Kenya took place. More or less the same thing, hardship, and especially when government appears inattentive to the yearnings and demands of the people generally, but particularly the youth. And again, you will talk to the governments in Africa, they will tell you that, oh yes, it's the youth that brought them into government, because 65% of the voting population are youth. But I've been in a country where immediately after the election, the elected president called me and said, look, the youth have brought me here. What can I do for them? And we sat down and said, oh yeah, you should do this, you should do this. And that's where it ended. Nothing was done.
So let's say that President Tinubu called you with the same question. What can be done for the youth? What would you suggest he do?
I would say, first of all, the measures that have been taken, two particularly, which are internal measures, are measures that are desirable, but not enough thought.
And specifically, which measures are you?
The measure of removing subsidy.
Okay, yes.
Subsidy has to go. But what study have you done before you wake up and just say, no more subsidy?
So if you were the one to do it, how would you have taken that?
I will set up a committee.
Okay.
First, and say, well, look, how much is the subsidy? What is the subsidy? Where does it come from? How does it come from? And then I have a study. Now, if I stop subsidy, what do we gain? What do we get? And how do we spend what we get to alleviate some of the hardship that may come? Or will any hardship come? Will any hardship not come? I would do such exercise, and I would say, look, so that when I come out and say, well, we remove subsidy, I will also say what had gone into it, how it has gone, and what effect it will have. And but for instance, I went around the world, I got debt relief, and I said, look, what we got in debt relief would be used to carry out sustainable development. And the present Deputy Secretary General of the UN was the lady I appointed. So what money we receive, we gain from debt relief, this you will be in charge. So that all, even bringing the parallel and the official rate of exchange together, again a good study. What will happen? There are policies that have to be carried out, but for me, not enough thoughts, not enough study, not enough preparation have been done to be, because you should be able to say, look, if you do this, well, what are likely repercussions, and how do you ameliorate it? What will be the effect? How do you handle it?
So during your tenure, you just spoke about debt relief. You were part of, I guess, the president of Nigeria that was able to get the Paris Club debt to forgive Nigeria's debt. Now, in the case where presidents of a country, in the case of Nigeria, were to go and say, hey, we need debt relief or we need assistance.
No, if you come to me and I gave debt relief before, I would say, what did you do
with the money? So I'm getting to the question.
Yeah.
Now, you have a situation where there's excessive government spending going, what do you think the administration needs to do to address some of...
I think the question you're asking me is so ridiculous, without due respect, because running the affairs of a country is like running your own affair. If you have to earn money and you have to borrow money to eat because you are using the money you earn to pay debt, then something is wrong in your life. And the same thing, if we are earning and we are spending 95% of our earning to service debt, then something is basically wrong. And you have to sit down and say, hey, what is wrong? Now, when I came into government, we were paying $3.5 billion to service our debt, and the quantum of debt was not going down. Now, and I said, look, now this cannot continue. There's something basically wrong here. And then I went around. And when I made my case, people say, okay, look, you have a case, but we expect something from you. And what do they expect from me? They expect reform. And I keep telling them, look, reform is, that's one thing that is normal in life. You are looking at your life, even as a person, as a family, you are looking at your life. What do you need to do differently? what adjustment do you need to make, and that is the way. Even more so for a government. Now we have to reform. Look, you come in as a government that is deep in debt, and then you are spending money like a drunken sailor. So what do you expect? So the question you ask me,
I mean, it's obviously a cliche question in the sense that I don't think that
I find this almost in most African countries. They take it. You take debt. The first thing, or one of the first thing I learned in life, he who goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. And where is that? And then, and when you get this money, the amount of money that was left in reserve and in what we call
excess crude account,
crude account, excess crude account, excess crude account went beyond 30 billion. After I have left, it was about 25 billion before I left. Reserve went up to 60 billion. It was about 45 billion before I left. Now where is it? What did we do with it? Now people said our debt is 90 something billion within a space of how many years?
The other issue that's become a big topic in the Nigerian spectrum is the issue of revenue. Nigeria is currently doing 1.6 million barrels, according to President Tinubu's recent speech, which he did a couple of days ago, which the allocation is supposed to be at 3 million barrels. What are the key reforms that you think that needs to happen to get to Nigeria to be optimal in terms of being able to, part of resolving the issues, obviously?
You call the major oil companies. You call them. And look, what do we need to do? That's what I did when I was there. Anything, look, come and let us talk. And as one of them said to me after I left government, and he said, look, we didn't always get what we wanted with you, but we know we will get a decision. Because I called them, look, what is your problem? This is my problem. And we talk.
Back to the other question of corruption, which I think is obviously the elephant in the room within the Nigerian context. Each administration, you have been, I would say, very blessed to have seen from the 70s. You did the handover to Shagari, to the 80s, to the 90s. Now, what are some of the key things that you've seen, based on your experience, that the current administration needs to have in perspective to be able to run that country very well? Because obviously, from hindsight, it's
character. That's the first thing, as far as I'm concerned. And that's the attribute of a leader. And the next thing after that is your policy. How relevant is your policy? People must see leadership is not a picnic. For me, leadership is an exercise in sacrifice. What is the sacrifice that you are making? If you are asking me to make sacrifice, what sacrifice are you making? If you are asking me to go this way, what, are you ready to go that way? Are you going that way? What example are you showing? Not only yourself, even people around you.
With the
that character, policy, then the people around you. I always say that a tree will not make a forest. So the leader, by himself or herself alone is not enough. You have to build a team. And again, a credible team. Men and women that are competent, and their competency is known and is seen. Men and women of good character. Nobody is an angel or perfect, but you can see what they stand for. Character, policy that is relevant to the situation, and implementation of that policy. Then the team. You don't need 1,000 people, but you need core, I would say 12 to 15 that are solid, and you can get them. You have to headhunt. You have to look for them, and there must be people who, when people see them, they will say yes. They will respect them for what they are, and for what they will bring in and bring on the table.
Fantastic.
Let me go back to the protest and ask you a question and build on this idea of self-reflection. Do you see these current protests as a continuation of previous protests? And if so,
I don't know which previous protests you are talking about.
Well, are there any lessons you would say that the protesters should keep in mind as they're protesting?
Well, I have been saying, not only to Nigeria, in the case of Nigeria, but in the case of Africa, we are all sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Yeah. For as long as we regard disregard the interest of the youth.
So what should they do?
As I always say, don't say the youth are leaders of tomorrow. They are there today. Yeah. They are there today. I was at a meeting where I was the chairman, and the lady, 24-year-old lady, won the competition, essay competition. And when he was going to talk to us, he said, look, thank you, you people have 2063. That's all right. Some of you will be dead by then. I hope I will still be alive, but I don't wait till 2063. I want what I will get tomorrow. And that is true. What are we giving him, or what are we giving her and people like her today and tomorrow and day after tomorrow? If we are talking of 2030, sustainable development, yes, all right. But what do we do, or what do we get between now and 2030? Not to even talk of 2063. And if we don't think this way, and we don't carry the youth along this way, we are in trouble. And we should tell ourselves this. We are in trouble. And you see what happened in Kenya. I was there, and after that I was with President Ruto. And, it is not paying enough attention to the need, the welfare and the well-being of our youth. How simple. And I look at, I have met those of them who made attempt to cross the Sahara and cross the Mediterranean. It's a harrowing when they tell you their experience, and you will pity them. And I said, look, leaders who allow this to happen, they tainted their hands with blood. Many of these youth die in the process. And what do we do? What do we do? We have in Nigeria over 20 million children that should be in school that are not in school. Now, nobody will need to tell you, you don't need to be an oracle to say those will be recruited in 12, 15 years' time. It may be called something else, it won't be Boko Haram. But you must know that. When Sheikh Gumi went to meet those boys in the forest, I invited him to come and see me. The first thing he said to me is that, look, where those boys are, they fortify themselves. And if any security man says it's there or going there, he's lying to you. That's number one. Number two, he said what made him weep was boys of 13, 14, 15 years. They are soaked in drug and carry on. They are wrecked. Now that should worry us. 20 million children that should be in school that are not in school. Those that have no employment, no job, and they see you in obscene affluence. What do you expect them to do?
Given
not only in Nigeria. Nigeria is an example. Nigeria, because we are the largest country in Africa, we need to do things right so that other countries can follow our footsteps.
One of the things that I was very impressed with was the conversation I think you had made that President Buhari at one point had called you on the New Year. If the current president at this time calls on you to provide advice to the nation given the current situation, is that something that you would consider being able to do to
I'm not looking for a job. Thank you.
Fantastic. The other issue is on the young people. Nigeria has between 18 to 35 millions of young people that are there. What specific reforms should be done? Especially people in the diaspora are very, very concerned. In this, different administrations have come and have not done this. Money has been allocated.
First of all, I told you, education is number one.
What about short term?
Short term.
Wait. If you say short term and you leave those 20 million, now if you leave them unattended to, you are postponing the evil day.
Yes.
While you are talking of short term, how do we? I went around at one time and said, look, how do we take care of this? And we have to have more classrooms, more teachers. Put them. By the time you put them, by the time they complete their 6 years in primary school, the transition, you will have been able to prepare the transition from primary to middle school, as they call it, or junior secondary. Now, first you have to produce. Look, we are, you know what we are doing? We are sharing poverty among the majority of our people. There are few who are rich. And we must know that the system that cannot help the majority poor will not save the minority rich at any time. And our system, what we practice, is not helping the majority poor. And the small rich people think that they will be saved when the majority are poor, they are in abject poverty, they are oppressed, they are hungry, and they are angry.
During your administration, hunger is a big part of the issue in Nigeria. People are saying that they're hungry. You had ran Operation Feed the Nation during that time. What policies, what did you learn at that time when you ran that can be implemented right now that can help the current administration?
I don't know what anybody wants to learn. I know that one thing that I know is important, very important. I take security, personal security first. After that, food security and health. Health is helped by food security. After that, education for me. Then employment. Now, so if food security is important, I want to treat it as very, very important. After I have been able to provide safety, personal safety, safety for your person, your property. Whether those who are there now or who will be there tomorrow understand it that way, that's a different thing. So it's not me to teach them, but if they want me to teach them and they ask me, not the way you are asking me now, because you know some of the answer before you ask me, that they will come, anybody. Well, I wanted to get debt relief. I was going around the world. I was looking for those who will help me. I had, in my first term, I had a very good man as my Minister of Finance, late Adamu Chiroma. But Adamu Chiroma didn't know anything about international financial institutions and how it operates. So I looked for. I got Ngozi. Ngozi is not a perfect human being. Nobody is. But he was frightfully competent, technically. And I needed her. I got her. When I'm talking to a president or a prime minister, she's talking to a finance minister. Say, hey, hold the finance minister, don't leave it at him or her until he gets instruction from his or her president. That's the way we did it. You have a problem, you seek how to solve your problem, and then you go for solution.
Thank you so much, President Obasanjo. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to having you here for many more years. Thank you, sir.
Noire TV, showing on Verizon Fios channel 269, Optimum channel 1100, and on Digicel. Or on our website www.noiretv.com, or download the app from the App Store or Play Store.